and here's the chart. It has different columns at the top, and it has all the states on the left side, because I want to see if there's a problem with the states. Well, it's time to go over the February 2024 eBay standard envelope tracking and scans analysis. Every month I go through, and I've been doing it for a couple of years now, ever since we had some problems with it. Been a while. But I decided to do it all the way through 2024 as well, because I think they're going to make some headway in getting us over to 90%. But what I do is I take a random 100 mailings, paid and shipped things from eBay, and I check for the different things, as we'll see here in a minute, 4 different scans. One of the things that eBay did, I want to talk about before I get into the analysis, is they had their winter update for sellers. There's a charge that eBay does called per order. For every order, every item, you get charged 30 cents. Well, that's going up 40 cents. I'll put it on the screen here, the actual comment from the thing. But starting March 15th, 2024, the per order fee on orders over $10 will increase from 30 cents to 40 cents across all categories. For orders $10 and under, there will be no charge, no change, and you'll continue to be charged the current 30 cents. Now I looked at that, we just had eBay standard envelope go a penny on each of the weights, and now they're adding 10 cents here. A lot of people are freaking out and stuff like that. Well, majority of my cards sell for $10 or less. And I'm not going to change my pricing because this doesn't really impact me. But people that sell other cards, they just need to go through and add that 10 cents. If you add $1 to one card, there's 10 items and stuff. I'm wondering if this is an increase from the payment processor. Because when I sell something in Ko-Fi, I have to pay, it goes through PayPal. And it goes to PayPal, and PayPal charges like 30 cents plus 3% or something of the total sale. So I'm getting charged 30 cents every time someone buys a pack of sleeves from the Ko-Fi store. That's why I just can't give it away there. I want to try to get it as low as possible. I got to pay those fees, and I pay another thing to PayPal, and then I pay a yearly thing to Ko-Fi. So there is fees involved. But I'm just wondering if it, because the payment processor went up, or that every time they use a credit card that things go up. But there's a lot of conspiracies out there with what this is. But I look at this and it's not that big of a deal for me. But if you look at that and you do sell cards over $10 and you got the penny for there, now you're 11 cents up over last year. Most people can absorb that. But if next year when the postal rates go up again, you might have to pass some of that cost on. But I'm not too worried about that. But when you see that go down on your higher cards, that's what it is. But with the analysis I did for the eBay standard envelope for February, eBay was over 90% in 3 of the 3 scan areas this month. I had 4 of them with no scans. That's been prevalent in the last month too, is the no scans. They don't get any scans at all, but the cards do end up showing up. Now when scans don't occur, it can cause us more work. And I did this video. Where's my postcard? Everybody that sells a lot of postcards or sells postcards probably got a message from a buyer that says, it shows delivered, but it's not here. I checked everywhere. Can you please look into it? Right away, a lot of people get defensive. Well, I have a little canned response that I send to them, and you should come up with a canned thing you can just cut and paste. Tell them eBay standard envelope's not like package, and I'll put it here, what I use and stuff, but I don't tell them to wait 2 weeks or wait a week and stuff. I tell them, hey, if it doesn't show up in the next couple of days, let me know. I put some ownership on them to let me know as well, because I can't see everything. They're the one who gets in their hand. And most of the time I don't hear anything more. If they've opened a case, they end up closing it, stuff like that. But just remember, you can get your money back. And I'll talk about that after we go through the stats about eBay standard envelope insurance. Now I'm going to walk through a little bit of thing I've been using for the last year or so. Just a little clip I did for people that haven't seen it before of how eBay standard envelope works in a nutshell. Now it does show Etsy, because Etsy used to have letter tracking like eBay. This isn't something new to eBay. This has been around for a long time with the Postal Service. eBay is just branded at eBay standard envelope. It's a little barcode and it goes out. But I'm going to walk through this little clip here, and you can skip it if you've seen it before with the chapters at the bottom here and go right to the eBay stats and stuff. But a little nutshell. Here we go. Here is a slide I'm going to bring up on the big screen. This is just the process in my head on there, not real detailed, layman terms. I don't know how everything works with this. I can speculate from my IT background, my technical background, but there are so many different ways to do it. But in a nutshell, this should explain to anybody how it works. So the first box there is you got eBay and Etsy platform. They're connected across multiple data centers and stuff like that. They're not in the same one. That's why it's got the dotted line there. They're two separate companies, two separate platforms, two separate programs, applications, and stuff like that. They're not shared. But I just put them in a box to make it easier. When someone buys a postcard from either eBay or Etsy, it goes to the post office. The post office then sends data to eBay or Etsy in some way, format, a file, web services, some integration is going to go up and going to come down. Either eBay and Etsy picks it up or directly goes into those platforms if they have shared access. So that's your scans. When it hits the post office, it goes back and forth into the tracking on eBay and Etsy. If everything is successful with the delivery, and then you got a happy customer like at the end here. Even though the scans are not happening, most of the time the customer gets the card and they're happy. That's how it works. Probably a lot more to it, a lot of devices, a lot of hops, and parsing the data and stuff like that. But that pretty much hits the post office, goes to eBay, eBay shows it on the screen. Where it can break down a lot, they don't show it on the screen. Or they get the data and it's not parsed correctly. eBay's service that runs to pick that file up, or the post office. I can't see the scans that we get not happening at every distribution center. Every distribution center isn't. I just can't see how they can have the same problems with the same machine on the same card. I think a lot of the problems, if I had to point fingers, and I still point it that way, is eBay's getting the information and they're just not parsing it correctly. They're just not dealing with it correctly. That's, if I had to lean one way or the other, I would put it more on eBay's not getting the information, because I'm pretty sure that the post office is good at scanning things. So far, you can convince me otherwise. But I don't have a lot of data on that, it's just an assumption. Now, with the scans, I have this chart that I'll put up here in a second, but I track 100 random mailings, and this was all the way from February 1st all the way to the end of February, so I randomly take them through, and here's the chart. It has different columns at the top, and it has all the states on the left side, because I want to see if there's a problem with the states. The red in there is if I created 10 labels, and across those scans, if it's less than 10, it gets a red mark. And if you notice, there's red on these charts. If you've been watching it, there's always red. So I create the label. But let's walk through the columns at the top real quick. The first one is the state. This is where it's going to, where it's delivered. Not where it's from, because it'd be all the same, Illinois. And I go ahead and grab those. Then the label is my control. I create the label. I know it's created, so that's 100 out of 100. That's 100% all the time. I'm not going to track anything I didn't put a label on, right? The next column is origin. That's when it leaves my house to the local post office to the first distribution point that's scanned. These can only be scanned at the distribution centers. Your carrier or the post office cannot scan these barcodes with their scanners like they do packages. It's not as robust. It has to be done at the sorting centers. That's the key to eBay standard envelope. So don't take this to your carrier or the post office. They're not going to be able to do it. But origin scan is the first hop. Next one is destination scan. That's somewhere in the route. It's moving. It tells us it's moving. It tells the customer it's moving. That keeps them at bay while it's still moving. Then it goes to out for delivery. I put delivery to shorten the title at the top, but out for delivery. That's when it's ready, being prepped to go probably to the house and through there. But remember, this is scanned at the distribution center. And then the finally all important delivered scan at the end. Now when it shows delivered, Doesn't mean it's at the house in the people's hand. Even though eBay shows delivered, it still could take 1 or 2, 3 days to get to the house, to the mailbox. So this is where people say, where's my postcard? It shows delivered, but I don't have it. And that's when you should send that blurb out, that little cut and paste thing, to calm them down, and you got to buy some time. Now, once they are educated on eBay standard envelope and they buy postcards again or something like that, then they understand. It's just that first time. It used to be really bad in the beginning, but now it's kind of slowed down. But I had a little bit more this month than I usually do. Normally I don't. I probably send that thing out hardly any more at all. Then at the end there, I take the average day from the time I created the label to the time it says delivered plus 1 day. I add a day. You can add 4 days, 5 days, whatever. I just did 1 day across the whole thing. That's what I've been doing. You can add whatever number you want, but I add a day, and that shows the average for that state, how long it takes to get there. But let's go ahead down at the bottom here and look at the percentages. So the first column, label, 100%. 100 mailings I reviewed, I did the things. Next one is origin. They missed 18 of them, 82%. That's the lowest of all of them. My origin center is constantly the lowest probably out of them all. They just, something's going on there or whatever. I don't know why, but it's usually in the 90s or 80s. Then you got destination scan. This is where it's going through the system. They missed 6. So they missed 18 on the origin, but then they picked the scans up at the next hub. Inconsistency. So 94%. Then out for delivery was 95%. They only missed 5. And the all-important delivered scan, 93%. So they're over 90% in 3 of the categories. Now underneath there, I had 4 no scans. That means there was no scans. Once I put it in my mailbox or dropped it at the post office, no scans. There was no scans at all. Request. Those are people, like I said, where's my postcard? It shows delivered. I had 4 of those this month. 4 people. That's probably the highest I've had in a year. And every time I get one, I go in this chart here that I keep track of throughout the month, and I add there every time I send that out. So I had 4 of those. So, and I think there might be a little bit of a reason for that with the weather and the ice storms that we had. We were still playing catch up, and that's where the next one came in. I had a refund. The card just didn't show up, but then I refunded the person, and then 4 or 5 days later they said, hey, it showed up. I just told them to keep it. It was a $4 card and stuff like that. So I'm not going to have them send back and pay the shipping for 1 card. It was just a view card. It was no big deal. And so I did have a refund. So now that's in my queue to put a claim in the eBay Standard Insurance, as we'll talk in a minute. And I didn't have any claims to send in. That's the only refund that I got outstanding that I need to send in. So that whole chart there, we had a lot of mailings that took a long time. We had 7 days for Michigan, which is right up north of me. Goes 2 hours south, and it should go back through Chicago to Michigan. We had some 6 days, 9 days to get to Oregon. Montana, Oregon, and Texas seems to be my longest ones. I don't know why. But there was a lot of them that were higher. You got Maine, Louisiana, 7 days. But the average for the post office came out to be 5 days. So the average overall, my cards that I sent out of these 100, it took 5 days to be delivered to the customer. But I also take these and I put it into a line chart, as you'll see here. The blue line underneath the dotted line is 90%. That's the line across 90. I feel, and it's my assumption, 90% is the level. If they drop with these scans below 90%, we have to do more work. We have to have conversations with customers and stuff like that. If it's over 90%, it seems to calm down more. But if you notice, all of them were over 90% so far for the year, except the blue line, the origin. And that's why I was talking about the consistent bad origin spot in the postal system for me. So we're going to track this throughout the year and see if they stay above 90. Last year they took a drop here and there, and then they'd bounce back up. But hopefully the system issues and scanning is getting better. But I also track the post office for the year. And if you notice in January, and usually weather related, I feel, is that with the ice storms down south, some people said the trucks haven't even moved out of the post office for 4 days. So everything's going to get backed up. So 6 days. They're normally at 5 days, and this month they went back to their normal 5 days. So it's normally 5 days for them to get a postcard anywhere in the country. It's the average. Now there's some outliers and some that go quicker and stuff like that. But I've had one just in Indiana, and I'm 15 miles from Indiana St. Louis, 15 minutes. And it took, 8-9 days to get there. It just depends. But the average is what I look at. The trend is 5 days is where it's going. So those were the stats that I track every month. I put this out at the end of every month going into the next month. You can watch and see how it goes. They're real quick videos. You can skip through some of it if you've seen it before. But there's one key thing about this that people need to understand. If you send out, eBay standard envelope has, each item has to be under $20 and the whole order can't be over $50 to get the eBay standard envelope insurance they provide. If your item is $22 and they don't get it, you're not going to get eBay standard envelope insurance. But if it's $12.75, $15, and they don't get the postcard and the customer opens a case and says they didn't receive it, after 30 days and before 90 days, you can put a claim in and get your money back. So I have no problem refunding people when they don't receive their postcard. I did a video about how to do the claim process. It's pretty quick. You just got to have a little organization. eBay is now keeping data, I think, for 2 years. So you can just put the order number and put a date when you got to do them on a little list. But I don't get many of them. I really don't. I don't get a lot of refunds every year. I don't get a lot of these requests. It's been pretty good over the last couple of years. But there is issues that pop up that you got to send that out. But check that video out. It'll walk you through the claim process. I don't think too much of it's changed since I've done it. But I'm going to continue to track this all the way through 2024. And you're going to be able to see the progress and see how the post office and eBay does. 90% is the level there. 5-6 days for the post office. Let's see if they stay there. Thanks for watching. And don't forget to subscribe so you know when this video comes out. And hit that little bell icon so you get notified. I think there's a thing in the corner over here. You can just click on that. Real easy. Best free thing you can do for the channel is just subscribe. It helps turn things on and lets other people know about it. Thanks for watching. I'll catch you in the next one. Here's some more fish. Bye.